Coming up on this episode of Bro Do You Even Talk Pinball, we review Revenge from Mars, cover the latest news and events in pinball, answer your questions, and we've even got a special co-host for this episode. Stay tuned.
Double super jackpot!
I need a ramp. I need a loop. I want targets I can hit. I need the scoop. I need a double super jackpot in my life. That's right.
Hello. It's Monday, the 22nd of May, and this is Bro Do You Even Talk Pinball. I'm Kevin Manny. Joining me tonight is a very special guest. If you watch our Twitch streams, you know him. If you only listen to the podcast, you may not know who he is, but we'll get to know him a little bit more here tonight. His name's McSirTuna, a.k.a. Mike Lukianoff, also known as the Iron Man of Gaming. Welcome to the show, Mike.
How's it going, Kevin? I like that my name is McSirTuna, also known as my actual real name.
Well, you know, that's how it goes on Twitch. You know, you give yourself this crazy name, that's what people call you.
That's right. I guess that's true.
So, for those who don't know McSirTuna, what should they know about McSirTuna?
Oh, and I'm supposed to answer that.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
the get to know you.
All right. Just throwing me right in there.
That's right.
What do you need to know about me? I'm a longtime video gamer, or gamer of all types, actually. Grew up playing arcade games and video games, played pinball growing up, played console games, computer games, board games, everything. And eventually, once I got older, like many people our age, have come around to started to collect pinball machines, which kind of got me into the whole pinball community. And from there, got into pinball streaming, and next thing you know, I'm here right now with you guys. But I mean, for the most part, I just play a lot of video games and all kinds of stuff. And that's where the Iron Man of Gaming title comes from, winning some video game tournaments 3 years in a row undefeated. And yeah, also, I guess you could say I'm also known for having two pet hedgehogs, which appear to be running rampant in the chat right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, and there is also this moment where you happen to beat Billy Mitchell in Pac-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you tell us about that a little bit?
Man, I guess there's quite a few things that there's so many things I don't even remember them all. So yeah, a few years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Southern Fried Gaming Expo in the Atlanta area, and quick background on that, I play a lot of Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man Turbo specifically is my favorite arcade game of all time, and I pretty much enjoy all Pac-Man-like games. So at the Southern Fried Gaming Expo, one of the guests was Billy Mitchell, known for his perfect Pac-Man game fame, along with many other arcade classic achievements.
If you've seen the documentary King of Kong, he's the kind of the anti-hero in King of Kong.
Yeah. And they had this tournament on Pac-Man Battle Royale, which, those who may not know, it's a 4-player competitive Pac-Man game where you play against the other people playing, trying to eat each other's Pac-Mans. And so they had this Battle Royale tournament where anybody could enter, and you could just play against 3 people and Billy Mitchell. And then they did anybody who ended up winning the rounds got bumped into a bracket system, and then it just proceeded from there. And I ended up winning the Beat Billy Mitchell Pac-Man Battle Royale tournament at Southern Fried. Interesting follow-up to that was Walter Day also being there as well, known from the King of Kong documentary, and pretty much classic and all video game documenting, high-scoring documenting purposes. Twin Galaxy shout out. And he was there and he mentioned, hey, maybe you should have a card, because at the time Walter Day makes those particular cards, so he kind of enjoys sports, enjoys card collecting, or not necessarily card collecting, but enjoys the idea of having trading cards. But they didn't have them for video gamers and people in the gaming world, so he decided to step up and make it himself. So he decided, hey, we should make you a card. So I bugged him enough and reminded him at other conventions I saw him at, like Pinburg and Replay FX. And basically, he's like, okay, we'll get that for you. And there you go. That's the result, based off of the fact that I won the Beat Billy Mitchell tournament.
Awesome. And if you want one of those cards, one of these beautiful autographed McSirTuna cards, we're going to talk to you a little bit later about how you can get yourself one of those coming up this weekend here on our Twitch channel. If you don't know Mike from our Twitch channel, let me show you the schedule here. So we stream pinball on Twitch 5 days a week. Mike is our Saturday streamer. He streams from 8 until 8, like he likes to say. He likes to crush pinball machines like Tron into submission. He will talk you through all the rules on Game of Thrones. And he does a great job breaking down the different parts of the games, and people really look forward to his tutorial. So if you want to check him out on our channel, twitch.tv/Buffalo Pinball, tune in 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday nights, and you can catch him. So before we move on, we are going to have a special call-in guest here coming in a minute. But first, I want to thank our partners. Without them, none of this would be possible. First up, Comet Pinball, CometPinball.com, makers of exclusive and quality LEDs for less. If you want to make your game look awesome, even you can take an older game that might have incandescent bulbs in it and make it look really nice. Throw some Comet Pinball LEDs in there. Visit Double Danger, ddpinball.com, for awesome pinball t-shirts and swag. If you want to go to a pinball show or tournament, you got to be looking good. You've got to be repping your pinball colors. So go to ddpinball.com, get some awesome swag there. Use coupon code Buffalo to save 15%. Pinball Life, pinballlife.com. If you own pinball machines or operate pinball machines or have pinball machines around, you're going to need pinball parts, because you're slamming a steel ball into plastic and metal pieces and things are going to break. When it does, go to pinballlife.com and order some parts from there. Jersey Jack Pinball, jerseyjackpinball.com, makers of The Hobbit, Wizard of Oz, and Dialed In, which we will be streaming this Thursday on our Bro Do You Even Talk Pinball show. Be sure to tune in if you're hearing this. It'll be happening this Thursday, and you get to see a lot of Dialed In. The last time we streamed it was at the factory. It had really early code on it. This is still one of the prototype games, but we're going to be playing on much more updated code, so really looking forward to showing that off. Community Beer Works. If you're in Buffalo and you like beer, you should visit Community Beer Works, or visit communitybeerworks.com to learn more about those guys. They really love pinball, and they reached out to us because they wanted to be a part of what we're doing. Titan Pinball, titanpinball.com. You can get re-rubber your machine, but not with rubber, but with silicone rings. So you can these are great because they have the look and feel. Well, more of the feel of traditional pinball rubber, but they look awesome. They're like super shiny, and they wipe down easy, and they hold up longer. So TitanPinball.com, use the coupon code Buffalo to save 10%. The Pinball Arcade, pinballarcade.com, makers of virtual recreations of real pinball machines. If you don't have pinball in your area and you want to learn more about how to play these games and all the rules, check out pinballarcade.com. And Tilt Cycle, tiltcycle.com. Dan Burfield, maker of upcycled pinball art. He takes old trashed pinball machines, one of which is sitting right next to me now that I decided to buy. I probably should have sent it to Dan to turn into art, but I decided to keep it, and we'll be streaming it. You'll see. But when you shop at tiltcycle.com, be sure to use coupon code Buffalo to save 20%. So now what we're going to do is we're going to call in another special guest, because when Nick's not around, I should have mentioned that Nick is not here because Nick was out at Nickel City Con here in Buffalo all weekend from Friday to Sunday, and he was representing pinball, being a good pinball advocate. And so he had it dialed in. There was a Ghostbusters, Game of Thrones, and Aerosmith out there for all the comic convention folks to check out and try out. And then he also helps run the Silverball Cycl-o-Rama on Saturday. So he is wiped out. And he was not ready to do this podcast tonight, which I totally understand. but we wanted to keep the show going for you guys, so that's why we got Mike here tonight. And when Nick's not around, we need 2 special guests, so we're going to be calling in yet another guest here. Let's see if we can get her in here. Let's see. Add to call. Invite to group call. There we go. And I'll switch over to this because otherwise it's going to look really weird. And are you there?
I'm here.
Mike's here. And I'll switch over to this because otherwise it's going to look weird. I hear something.
Hi, it's me.
Hi, who's this? You're
it's
on
Martha.
the air. It's Martha.
T-Bonus 273. You may recognize me from chat and Bro Do You Even Pinball Thursday night stream.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. You're going to give us a recap of the Silverball Cycl-o-Rama. For those who don't know what that was, why don't you tell us what it was and how it all went down?
So it was the inaugural event in Buffalo. It was a 10-mile bike ride and on-location pinball tournament. So we stopped at 6 different restaurants, played 7 different pinball machines, hit a great tournament. It was a beautiful day for it. And that was pretty much, that's a summary in brief.
Awesome. So how did it, you planned out this crazy 10-mile bike route with all these stops. How did it actually play out? Did it turn out how you anticipated? Did it run shorter than you thought, longer than you thought? Did people get more drunk than you were expecting? How did it work out?
Well, I'm pleased to announce that there were no injuries.
All right. I know that was your number one concern. And there were some folks not wearing helmets, right?
There were some folks who did not want to wear helmets. But, I would say generally it took about the time that we thought it would do. People were having a really good time. So, they wanted to drag it out a little bit longer. So we went a little longer than anticipated. But in general, it was, it was like an 8-hour extravaganza.
That's awesome. So
for A division, for B, it was over pretty much at 5.
How many did you end up with A and how many in B?
Well, we had 11 in A division and we had 12 in B division.
Okay. And
yeah.
So how did it work? So I ride my bike to a place with a pinball machine and then what?
So we started at Community Beer Works, which is one of our partners, and they actually have 2 pinball machines there now. So you play the game, and then once there was a group of people together, then you ride to the next location, play your game, and you submit your scores on Facebook the same way that we do for selfie tournaments. And you're just scored, point wise, like I think it was on 100 and down for who had the top score, second best, third, and so on. And you just get ranked against everyone in your division. Okay,
that makes sense. So how did finals work and who made the finals? Do you remember?
I do. We did not have B division finals. We just had A division finals, and it was for the top 6 players. Top 6? No, top. Yes, top 6, and then we just did. It was a long day. The top 2 got a bye, and then we just did one game. Top 2 from that advanced to the finals.
Gotcha.
And then just one more game for finals. At that point, it'd have been a long day.
Yeah, that was probably a smart move.
Yeah.
So who ended up finishing out in the top 3?
The top 3, I'll go backwards. Okay. So 3rd place was Nick Kaiser, who's relatively new. He was a guest on Bro Do You Even Pinball recently when we played GoldenEye.
That's right.
But he's relatively new. He's new to the scene in the Buffalo area in like the last year or so. Then in 2nd place, we had our very own Nick Lane. And in 1st place, we had Jeff Worth of Golden Guys fame.
That's right. And also the Monday night Twitch streams. And yeah, he's the newest bro on the Bro Show. So congratulations to Jeff. I want to say that's the first tournament he's ever won.
Oh, well, that is great. I did not realize that. And he actually, sure. He won a pretty cool trophy.
He did. You made those, right?
I did.
And for the listeners, what did they look like? What were they made of?
Well, they were ribbon lanyards, and they incorporated a little bicycle art and a little pinball art. So we had a little bicycle chain on there, and attached to that was a flipper bat with a silver ball.
Nice. And so he can add that to his collection of Golden Guys medals from Team League, right?
Yeah, he's building up quite a collection.
he's got all the medals. Mm-hmm. All right. So if he had to do it again, what would you change? Would you change anything? Would you add anything? Remove anything? What do you think?
You know, honestly, I think it went okay the way it was. I do think that we'll do it again because I think there are going to be some new pinball machines popping up on location. And I might consider a format change for that. Depending on the number of games at the location, I think it might be fun to try some match play in there, and then potentially move as a group.
Okay, so you'd keep your group of 4 going around?
Yeah, potentially. I don't know. You know, I have to. I was thinking about the format, and I think a match play travel as a smaller group might be an interesting way to do it as well.
Yeah, I can see that being fun. Of course, you'd have to end up somehow with your groups of 4, so you'd have to ensure you had like a multiple of 4 registered for the tournament.
Right.
So.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe at the end of the summer, because I think Community Beerworks is going to be moving to their new location, and they'll have a couple more games there. So,
nice.
You know, things to look forward to.
All right, stay tuned. What's up?
Oh, I just wanted to give a shout out because we actually did have 2 bro viewers that came up from Virginia for the tournament.
Awesome. I think all of our bros are in Virginia. So who were they?
We had Brian and Janelle. I think what's his screen name, Nick? Double Super Jackpot.
Yeah. I wonder if he's here tonight. If he's in the chat, I'm sure he'll chime in. But yeah, he made the trek up. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was cool to meet them. And we had a couple new people who have never done a tournament before. Just decided to give it a try, and I think they had a great time as well. So I would say it was a success.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. That's the first tournament you've ever run, right?
Yes.
Yes, you and Rob. So well done to the 2 of you. And hopefully we can see some more biking and pinball coming up in our future here in Buffalo.
Would you say she pedaled the tournament?
Oh, hey-oh. Awesome. Well, thanks for checking in. Thanks for the recap. I know we had some requests for a Silverball Cycl-o-Rama recap. So thanks for chiming in.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see you later.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Later.
Now I got to try and get her out of here. So everybody just hang in there. Move from this group. All right. Tuna's back. All right. Now we can swap them back. Ready? Boom. Like magic. There he is. Tuna's back. All right. So that was your Silverball Cycl-o-Rama update. Let's get into our personal updates. What have we been doing in pinball? So I'll kick it off. The big thing that's happened for me is I was hosting a Stargazer pinball machine that wasn't mine. I picked up for somebody, and then they ended up selling it or not selling it to somebody else, and that other person came over to pick it up. And in its place now, I have a Bally Viking. So if you've never played Viking, it's got cool like I think Greg Ferris art on it. The one I got, the cabinet is painted all red on the sides, the main body of the cabinet. The head still has the artwork on it. The front has a doorbell on it for an add credits button, and there's a whole bunch of playfield art missing. So I'm really looking forward to streaming this on Twitch and having everyone lose their minds about the missing artwork on the playfield. And oh my God, how can you even look at that thing? But it plays well. All the displays work. All the scores work. The thing is, so Bruce brought it over, and we got it all loaded in and into place. And we're like, where the hell are the keys? We can't find the keys. Well, he ended up leaving the keys at home. So it's sitting here with the head down, and I can't play it, but it's right next to me right next to me where I'm streaming here. And so it needs a good cleaning. I may do like a shop out stream on it because I got to take all the playfields off, and probably I'll be putting an order in with Titan to get some new silicone rings for it. And we'll be giving it a good Novus wipe down, like the plastic over. It's got some stand-up inline drop targets. And the plastic is supposed to be clear over that, but it's super cloudy. So there'll be some cleaning going on, some giving pinball machines a bath. So looking forward to that. Have you ever played Viking?
I have never played and/or seen Viking, but you'd better take some before pictures because usually when you do like cleanings of games that really need it, that's when you see the most drastic change, which is totally worth documenting.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. I was like, I said, if you can get it like mechanically working, then I'm good. Like taking it apart, cleaning it. Like electronics and stuff are not my forte at all. So thankfully they got it up and running. Shout out to Bruce and Zach. They worked on it. So how he ended up getting this because it went up on Pinside, and he has a Viking, but the backglass in his Viking was not very good, and the backglass on this one was really good. So I said, you should go and get that. Put the backglass in yours and sell me the crappy one for cheap so I can play it and stream it. So that's what we ended up doing. So Viking.
So do you actually own it, or are you holding on to it?
I don't know. I guess we'll see. I am considering a purchase of some sort in the near future, but I don't know exactly which games I'll sell if that comes to be. It could be the game on my shirt right now. All right. So next item I wanted to touch on was we are officially in the planning stages for the Buffalo Pinball Summer Open. It's our Papa Circuit event here in Buffalo. It's a major this year, so we're really looking forward to getting that going. We were kind of waiting until after the Nickel City Con and the Silverball Cycl-o-Rama to kick that into full gear. But I designed an art, did an art piece for the Replay FX program, so there'll be an ad in there for it, and that kind of got me prompted to put together a design and a look and feel for like the poster and stuff. So that's all coming together. It's going to use our Play Angry design on the flyer, so that'll be cool. So yeah, looking forward to doing more of that. We're going to get the website up and running. We're going to start lining up food trucks and things like that we had last year. Pocketeer, where we had it last year, they're moving some of the machines around and making more room because that was some of the feedback we got is like, especially for classics, people were really crammed in there. And it's a lot more open and airy now, so things should be a lot better on that end. So that's the Summer Open. That's coming up in August. Nickel City Con, we'll save that for when Nick is on, but the gist of it is that it was a 3-day like Comic-Con here in Buffalo, and Nick and a few other of the Buffalo Pinball folks took 4 machines out there, and they were handing out flyers and it was interesting to see. If you looked on our social media, we had all these crazy like cosplayers in costumes playing the pinball machine. So there's like this guy dressed up as this giant transformer. He's like 9 feet tall playing it. And there's another guy dressed up like Groot, and he was bent over like halfway. He must have been on stilts or something because he looked huge too. And he was playing dialed in, and he looked like he was going to like flip the machine over or something. But it was pretty cool. It's always great to see people who don't see pinball every day. Like we have pinball machines in our houses. It's like people that don't get to see pinball up close and personal that much get excited when they see it and kind of spread that pinball bug to the next generation.
So what is Nickel City Con normally? I'm not familiar with that convention. What do they do as kind of their main point?
So I've never been there either. I don't think it's been around that long, but from just going on their webpage and stuff, they have celebrities come. So like William Shatner was there, and Billy D. Williams, and who else was there? Like Joe Montana. They had some sports people and stuff like that. So they bring in celebrities. You can get celebrity autographs, and they have like big vendor booths and stuff like that where you can buy comic artwork and comic books. And I saw they had like kettle corn vendor in one of the pictures that I noticed. So all sorts of like nerd kind of geeky culture stuff. And yeah, I forget how we got involved with them. I think it was through Community Beerworks. CBW was a part of that event, and then they said we should go, so we ended up going. So it was cool. I hope it grows, and I know maybe it'd be fun to do a tournament there at some point. I don't know. We considered doing it this year, but we were trying to figure out, would people pay to get into this convention and then also play in the tournament? And would pinball people want to pay to get into the convention to go to the tournament? Probably not. So I don't know. We'll see. It's an option for the future at least, though.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah. So before we get into your updates, there's something we're working on for this Saturday, and it is.
You betcha.
It is the 12 Games in 12 Hours Pinball Marathon happening this Saturday, May 27th, from noon to midnight, right here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Buffalo Pinball. It's a 12-hour pinball marathon. So what's going to happen is, like, I'm going to start on a game, and then once my hour is up, I'm going to shut the stream off. Mike's going to start it back up, and then he's going to stream a totally different game. So every hour we're switching games. So you're going to see 12 different pinball machines, all to benefit St. Jude and their Play Live initiative for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So we've got great donation incentives from the Pinball Arcade. We've got Stern Pinball Arcade, packs, and individual tables to give away. We've got this awesome piece from Tilt Cycle. Tilt Cycle, it made this, it's like a buffalo silhouette with playfield, or actually it's pinball cabinet pieces behind it. It's like a mural of pinball cabinet pieces. It's really cool. So we'll be having that. So how these are going to work is, like, so for the playfield piece, it'll be up, and if you bid at a certain level of donation, then you can choose that as your reward for that level. So, I think
I mean, to clarify, that sounded a little bit rough.
Okay.
Like, basically, when you donate X amount, you're pretty much getting that reward. You're donating to the reward. Like, it's not like a drawing.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You might get it.
So,
it's like you're guaranteed, I'm getting this.
Yes, you will get it. So we'll have a page set up that it'll be linked from our Twitch channel. You click on that page and it'll show you all the donation incentives that are left. And if you want that Tilt Cycle piece, you just click that green button and say, I'm going to donate, I think it's 200 or 150. I can't remember what I set that at, but it's like a $300 value. And so it's undervalued. If you donate at that level, you're getting that piece, and Dan will ship that right to you. That one's for US and Canada only, but any of the things like Pinball Arcade, you can get that anywhere around the world. Double Danger, we're doing packs of Buffalo Pinball t-shirts and pins, because Double Danger is going to be stocking our shirts now, which is awesome. So he was kind enough to donate. I think we got 5 of those packs, something like that. Dominos, we got gift certificates courtesy of our friend Adam Gasek at Dominos. So we're doing $15 gift cards for Dominos for $10. I think we have 2 of those, and also some of the Dominos Pinball promotional t-shirts. I think we had 2 mediums and 2 larges of those. So those are super cool and really rare. So if you want one of those, you can grab one of those. Also, fellow Twitch streamer Pinballer, twitch.tv/Pinballer. He donated this cool Pabst Blue Ribbon bass guitar, like a legit bass guitar that was a promotional item. And it's like new in box. He said they've gotten it out and played it a few times, but he wanted to donate it to a good cause, and he donated it to us. So we'll be giving that away as a donation incentive as well. So if you donate, I think at the $200 level, or I can't remember if it was $200 or $300. I think it was $200.
I have no idea.
You can select that as your option as well. I can't remember all the prices because I set all these crazy incentives up, and there were so many because of our awesome partners that I can't remember what they are all worth. But so SB Skin says he's ordering Domino's Saturday night. Yeah, we're gonna have some Domino's here in Buffalo. I think Tuna's gonna get some in Virginia as well. There may be a Meat Mountain. You never know.
Well, one thing I will say, and maybe it's just to stress the idea, is it's kind of, once we're out of incentives to give away, once they're used, it's first come, first serve.
Right.
And I kind of, and I'll take some of the fault or credit in that I kind of pushed Kevin to say we need to undervalue some of the things we're giving away, like make it a really good deal. And I think I heard you correctly that we've got $15 Domino's gift certificates for someone who donates $10.
Right.
So you're getting like an extra $5 of free Domino's just for donating.
Yeah.
So it's almost 1-to-1 on a lot of these things, if not way better deals. So that in itself is hopefully going to really get people to want to come and actually donate for this stuff.
Yeah. Same with the Pinball Arcade packs. If you've been wanting the Stern Pinball Arcade stuff, this will be a great way to do it and support it for a great cause. Yeah. So all the stuff, it's like, we wanted to make it really attractive, and we want to kind of destroy our fundraising goal and bring as much money to St. Jude's as possible. So hopefully you'll join us. Again, that's Saturday on twitch.tv/Buffalo Pinball, the 12 games in 12 hours marathon. If we hit our goal, Tuna will go into overtime If I think it's at $500, he'll go an extra hour. If we hit 1,000, he'll go an extra 2 hours. So,
and 1,000 is our main goal.
Yeah, we want to hit $1,000 for St. Jude. And I think some of the pinball or some of the video game streamers you see will raise way more than that. But we realize that pinball on Twitch is just a tiny little corner of Twitch, but we think we can pull it off and make it a success. 100% of the money is going to St. Jude. There's a Tiltify campaign page, and that all directs all the money right to St. Jude. How much for Tuna to go all night? Martha wants to know.
We can discuss that during the stream while it's happening.
That's right.
But I will say, like, all your favorite things are going to be there. All the staples of that have become staples of Buffalo Pinball are going to probably make some appearances.
Yeah, we got some.
Not to mention,
we're going to be playing Bean Boozled throughout the day. Every $100, if you know what Bean Boozled is, it's a jelly bean game where you spin a dial and you get you have to pick one, whatever color it is that comes up on the dial. It's either going to be delicious or horribly disgusting. So every $100 donation level we get, we'll do that here in Buffalo, and then once it goes back to Mike in Virginia, he's going to do it too. So sorts of crazy stuff like that.
I thought it was whoever just happened to be the lucky one streaming at the time it crossed the threshold.
Oh no, we both get to get tortured. So if it happens during yours, we have to do it too.
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's going to be a good time. So that's our pitch. Please tune in. Please donate and help us support St. Jude Children's Hospital.
And I give you one guess what'll happen when we get halfway to our goal.
Oh yeah,
Guess.
Yeah. I think the chat room can guess. There's a certain emote that kind of goes with it. All right, so time for Mike's updates. Mike, what's been going on with you in pinball?
So what's been going on? Well, for the longest time, I would have said nothing. Nothing had been going on in my world of pinball. I've been actually extremely stable for a long time with being happy with the machines I have. Except, all of a sudden, this last weekend, unknown to me, I decided, you know what? I'm going to get another game. And not only that, I'm going to get a game that I would have normally said, I'm not a big fan of this game. I'd only played it. Oh yeah, by the way, for those who can't see what actually went up on the screen, I'm talking about Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar.
That's right, not just any Avatar.
Avatar Limited Edition. I'd only played it at Flippers, local to me, and I never really kind of had the game click with me. Never really enjoyed my time with it as a whole. I just always had bad games on it. Felt like cheap drains, and I could never figure out how to actually get points on the game. But I'm also an open-minded person, and I know that with a lot of machines, once you can play them in a controlled environment in your own home or something, just in a controlled house or something like that, where you can hear the game and get the full lighting effects and be able to play it a few times, it helps it click. So I figured I'd give it a shot. Just so happened that one popped up locally to me about 20 minutes away, and I was able to get in on it fast enough to pick it up. And I was not expecting to get it. I've had an open slot waiting for a Star Trek Premium for a while, and it's just an open slot sitting there. So why not fill it with a pinball machine? So I went and I got it, and those of you who tuned in that Saturday, like 2 days ago on Saturday, I picked it up, and I streamed it that night, and had a lot of fun with it. It was fun to kind of play it and get to learn the rules with the chat, alongside the chat, and we got to Final Battle once during the stream, which was cool. And I'm looking forward to playing it some more. I've already turned it on Sunday and already today and played a game on it. And hopefully after a few more weeks, it'll be in the regular rotation for a bit. And we'll do a proper stream of it where I can do the tutorial for the game itself. So I'm looking forward to that. And
So a quick question. So I've only played the Pro. So what are the differences between the Pro and the LE?
See, I've only played the LE. I've never played the Pro, so I think I know what the differences are. But to the best of my knowledge, the biggest differences are the armor package came as chrome. There's a shaker comes standard with the unit itself. There's extra toys in it. There's a Banshee in the back corner and extra Navi dudes over the Navi targets. The giant mech thing, or the amp suit, has got motion to it where it moves around. I don't know if the Pro moves around just a little bit.
I don't think it moves at all.
If it doesn't move at all, then this one actually moves. Then the casket link thing that opens and closes and has a little doll dude inside of it. And one of the other biggest additions is there's a Powerball in the game. So biggest thing I heard all night was, wow, I didn't realize there was a Powerball in this game. And those who don't know, a Powerball, actually in this game it's called a Navi ball, or Navi ball, as the game pronounces. It's basically a double scoring thing, and a Powerball or Navi ball is a ball made of ceramic, most notable in Twilight Zone, and also used in the Rolling Stones. And it's going to bounce around and play completely differently to that of other steel pinballs. So it adds a little bit of extra flair to it. And there's probably some other stuff that I'm not thinking of. But those are the main things.
Yeah, those are the highlights for sure. So what else you got coming in? You got another game on the way, don't you?
I kind of mentioned a little bit, and I'm going to mention it again here because anybody who comes to my streams, one of the things I hear every week, or anytime I pop into another stream and people catch me, I hear the question a lot. So what's the status with Star Trek? What's going on with Star Trek? So I ordered Star Trek Premium a while ago from Pinball Refinery, and I'm getting it pimped up very similar to my Metallica and Walking Dead. And with that, it takes some time. And one of the things most recently that I'm getting done to it is I'm going to do some powder coating to it. But instead of going with a single color tone, I'm opting to go for a two-tone, which I think is a little risky.
That's not the right scene.
No. Global. So I'm going to leave the red armor on because I felt that I do like the red and I don't really want to spend the money to powder coat something that's already powder coated. So I'm going to take the shooter rod, the coin door, the apron, and the wire ramps inside and do like a gunmetal gray that matches that, similar to the speaker grill or the color of the actual ship itself. And in my head, I think it'll look all right. Other than that, I hope it doesn't turn out that I hate it, but we'll find out. So as far as when I'm going to get it, I'm told that there was one other machine in front of me that he's still working on, and after that, I'll be up. So hopefully not a whole lot longer after that. But that gives me more time with Avatar, since I only have so many slots. I'll figure I'll have Avatar until Star Trek is arriving, and then I'll go ahead and move Avatar on out to somebody else to enjoy.
Awesome. Anything else, or is that the tuna update?
I mean, in the world of pinball, that's about all I've got. Things are slow. Anybody who doesn't already know, I also have a Batman Dark Knight that I bought a while ago, but my brother's holding on to it. Some point over the summer, I plan on making a trip up to visit him and come back with my Batman. So once I have that, I'll stream that for a while too. So that'll be fun as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some news. Probably the biggest news of the past month is that Stern Pinball is going to be re-releasing AC/DC for yet another time. They're bringing back. They're calling it the Encore. I don't know if they're. I don't know why they didn't just call it a Vault Edition, but they're saying AC/DC Encore. Mike is typing in the chat.
Yes.
It's throwing me off. We need a new sound effect. I could have done the world premiere sound effect, but AC/DC Encore edition. Let's see. I got a picture of it here. I can show our viewers. That is not it.
Ooh,
that is
gorgeous.
Boom. So when Stern announced this on their Facebook page, everybody's like, "There's new artwork on the playfield," but the big giant Angus head that people hated is gone. And of course now people are like, "Well, I like the Angus head. I want it to be back." So you can't make everybody happy, but I think it's a smart move. It looks a lot better, and they haven't revealed pictures of the premium yet. They're rerunning the premium and the pro, but they haven't showed off pictures of the premium yet. All I've heard is that it may have Lucy art. Maybe that's kind of what they were hinting at on their Facebook page, but other than that, I haven't really heard much. Mike, what do you think about the this announcement?
I'm a fan. Before I committed to going the Star Trek route, I was certainly considering AC/DC because it's the kind of game that's got a lot of scoring strategy depth to it, so it interested me. But I always felt the used market kind of got out of hand a little bit in terms of the premiums and LEs. For due reason, they're very popular. So I love the idea that they're doing a rerun of this to help bring some of that under control a little bit, because there's a lot of them out there and it's a fun game, and it's a shame that the prices kind of went outside the range of feasibility for getting one. So this kind of brings it back in the game a little bit, if you will. Yeah. As far as the artwork's concerned, though, I'm a fan of what they've done so far, even though it's just a really simple, here's the band logo, here's Angus playing a guitar. Did I say that right? It was no. Yeah. Basically. And anyway. And yeah, it works for me. It doesn't need to be anything crazier. They pretty much, in my opinion, started at the bottom and had to just improve from there. And, they were able to do that. They didn't just repeat what they already had, what people didn't like. So they listened to people's feedback, knowing, hey, they'd probably like us to do something a little different. And, big thumbs up for, listening to feedback.
Agreed. They did announce the pricing on it, though. The Pro is MSRP $6,099, and the premium is $7,699. That's MSRP, though, so that's more than you're going to pay typically from a distributor. But that's still comes out to, even after your discount from a distributor, it's going to be about $1,000 more than what you used to be able to buy them for.
I can understand now personally. The Pro would be a tough sell at a higher price point, because the Pros, I'm not in the market right now for a Pro, but as far as I know, they were kind of selling for as low as 35 to 4 for a while there. And
there are a few upgrades there, it's got LEDs in it, and it's got a real bell in it now where it didn't used to. But I think that's about it. That doesn't say $1,000 to me. That's more like $2,000 to me. But the premium, on the other hand, is more worth it, because if anybody was looking for AC/DC premiums, especially if you were interested in a Lucy one, those were going out of hand at like $9,000 plus. And that was, for me, it was kind of like, I don't want to pay $9,000 for a used Lucy when I could buy a dialed in new in box. Yeah. So it pretty much said, nah, you're not going to get an AC/DC, and I moved along. I went for Star Trek. So now, all of a sudden, hey, used AC/DC premiums should probably come down in price a little bit. Or if not, there'd be no reason not to buy a brand new one. Yeah, the Pro, seeing that MSRP on the Pro kind of made me stop and be like, whoa, when did Pros get to be almost $6,100? But that's pinball. They're gonna if people are willing to pay it, they're gonna keep pushing it up, and if that's where the market's at, then that's what they should be charging. But moving on, the next thing I wanted to talk about was Total Nuclear Annihilation, formerly just Total Annihilation, but they had to update the name of it because I guess there's an Atari patent on that name, or they own the copyright on that name, whichever way it works. But so they added total nuclear annihilation. They also announced they showed off the backlash artwork, which if you're watching live or on the video on demand, you can see it's hand drawn art. It's got that kind of retro future 80s look to it, because I guess that's the theme of the game, is like it's an 80s kind of feel to it. My favorite part is there's a Lion Man poster hidden in the art, kind of over here on the right. He's hiding out back. Oh, I moved him around. Where's my whiteboard? And I can circle him. He's over here. That's where Lion Man is.
Well, that's off screen for me. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go to the stream.
But yeah, I like the art package, at least from what I can see of the backlash. And the other big news about this is that it's moving into production. So Spooky Pinball is going to be manufacturing this pinball machine, originally done as kind of like a one-off hobby project by Scott Denisi. He's been able to. There was such great reception to this game at shows that they're moving it to production. When we talked to Ed Robertson a couple months ago, when he came back from the Texas Pinball Festival, he said this was his favorite game out of the entire show. So all the new games from all the major manufacturers, he liked this one the best. And it was just like this one-off game with no art on the playfield and just crazy techno music. And it's got no ramps. It's a single-level playfield. But from what I understand, it's pretty awesome. I haven't played it yet, but stay tuned for more on that. So the one thing about this game, though, I think it's going to cost more than people are expecting it to cost. Because people see a playfield with no ramps on it, and they assume, oh, this is going to be like a $4,000 pinball machine. I'm guessing it's going to be more in like the $6,000 range.
Wouldn't surprise me, because you got some quite the controlled lighting effects, as from what I've seen at least. They're definitely using some computer technology behind. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, if you look at other spooky games, they don't have like the color changing RGB LEDs and stuff like that. So they're really gonna have to up their game. I guess the sound package in this game is pretty amazing. It's got there's like a timer, or just probably a numeric display down near between the flippers. And so I listened to the Spooky Pinball podcast, and they said they're going to keep everything as he envisioned it, as he wanted it. So all that stuff's going to be in there. And there's a lot going on underneath the playfield that you're not seeing. So that's where all the cost is.
Gotcha. If the artwork on the playfield can become anything representative of that scene in the back glass, that will bode well for it, I think. And those who can't see it, if the Far Cry Blood Dragon, like that's pretty much what I think of when you bring that up visually. For anybody who knows what that is, which is just that pure 80s line grid look to it. That's really good looking.
Yeah. So Pinball Howard in the chat says he played it at Texas Pinball Festival and it was awesome. So it's kind of like the universal appeal, universal feeling after people get done playing this game is that it's just really fun. Wobbly Chair says he loves the mix of alphanumeric and DMD. So lots to look forward to. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that someday. Hopefully maybe it'll be at Pinburg. I don't know. Hopefully. So
that would be cool.
I'd like to play that. So moving on, the next item on our list is 2 pinball machines are moving into production. Dialed In and Attack from Mars remake have both hit the production line. So congratulations to Jersey Jack Pinball and Chicago Gaming for moving those games along. Dialed In has a few changes that we'll talk about later in our Q&A with our viewer listener feedback. But Attack from Mars remake, it's got the 3 models, the Pro, Premium, and LE. I don't know. That's we were talking a little bit about this before, and it's like for Medieval Madness, it made sense, right, to rerun it because the games are going for crazy amounts, like $15,000. But here you got a game that was selling for about $8, and it's going to sell for about $8. So I guess the only real benefit is that you're getting a brand new one and not a 20-year-old one, right?
I guess I never really felt that Attack from Mars was the type of machine that had a lot of issues with it that, we've got these really broken down Attack from Mars. I mean, if anything, you're like, okay, your cabinet's faded. but most of it holds up really well. There isn't a lot that I've ever heard that people are struggling with keeping going on Attack from Mars, being a fairly robust machine. I mean, fantastic, it gets the treatment. I mean, there's not a lot of other machines to kind of point your finger at that were blowing up in price that much, other than, say, Cactus Canyon, or Monster Bash would have made another good one, because that was breaking the 5-digit barrier at times. But I always felt it was strange that Attack from Mars got it, even though it was definitely one of the most popular. But the price just didn't seem there like it was with Medieval Madness for it to seem like such a fantastic hit.
Yeah, I love Attack from Mars. I actually prefer it to Medieval, but yeah, for some reason the price never went up the way Medieval did. But I'm glad to see it getting made. I think the everything I've heard about it, like people. I kind of had the same reaction when I saw that giant display on the back of like, oh, that's terrible and gaudy and over the top. But people who have seen it in person say it's actually pretty awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing one in person someday. All right. Final thing we'll touch on here today for news is Pinball Wizard Arcade in Pelham, New Hampshire announced that it's closing its doors. It kind of been rumored for a few months. And they finally went ahead and closed their doors. They're also selling off a bunch of their games. So they posted on Facebook that they were selling off games, and people got all excited that they were going to go and get super cheap deals. But it kind of turned out to be not the case yet. They're not blowing the doors off on these games yet. It's no fire sale at this point. But maybe as they get closer and closer to wanting to get rid of these games, you'll be able to get some deals. But Mike, you've been to Pinball Wizard Arcade. What was your experience there?
See, I had an opportunity maybe about 6-8 months ago to go there. I was in Massachusetts actually for a job fair recruiting college students. And lo and behold, I didn't quite realize it at the time, but one of the students there that I already knew from a previous internship mentioned, hey, you know what? There's a Pinball Wizard not far from here in New Hampshire. But I mean, I'm in Massachusetts. I don't realize just how close that is to where I'm at. And it was like 20 minutes away. So yeah, we went there after the job fair and then spent the rest of the night hanging out there. And it was fantastic. As someone who's been to Flippers and in Grandy, North Carolina, and would say that I would probably have said Flippers is, your hands down best public place to play on the East Coast. This was another place definitely giving it a run for its money. Just fantastic selection of machines. Walking around there, everything was well kept, very spacious. Pricing was good, and the variety was really, really good. I could walk around there and see a lot of games that I never got a real good chance to play before. It wasn't all just newer games, but and not just the popular games either. A lot of obscure stuff as well, stuff that's you wouldn't see nearly as much, like Super Mario Brothers, the 3/4 size one.
Oh yeah, the Mushroom World.
Yeah, and then a lot of good classics from the 70s and 80s as well, and played around with those, and that was a good time. One thing that doesn't really get stated much, and I'm going to throw it out there, even though we're on a pinball podcast, but they also had an amazing selection of arcade titles, classic arcade titles. And not just like good ones that you could play with, that were like late 90s, but early stuff. And as someone who really enjoys seeing a lot of classic stuff, they had a fantastic selection of things I've never even heard of before. And I always enjoy running into games that I never heard of before. So having a place that you could go to, and they had not only, all kinds of pinball, but all kinds of arcade titles and stuff that you haven't heard of, stuff that you wanted to play going in there. A shame that that it had to close its doors, because obviously for anybody within driving distance, fantastic place to stop. But yeah, it happens to good places too. But I was pleased that I got the opportunity to go there at least once, which was great. So
yeah, it makes me wonder what goes into that decision. Is it they just don't want to run a pinball arcade anymore? Is it there just isn't enough money to be made running a strict? Because from what I understand, it was just an arcade, right? They didn't have any other like revenue sources. They weren't a restaurant or a bar or anything like that, right?
I did not see any food options there, and it was kind of in a very small mini mall type strip, like not big at all, kind of just off the side.
Okay.
Driving around that area, there wasn't any like big open places. It was in a small little area, and you weren't going to stumble on it. You kind of had to know to go there a little bit, it seemed.
Yeah, it reminds me of kind of Pocketeer around here is kind of the same way. It's like, yeah, there's this awesome place with 50 pinball machines in it, but it's just like this pool hall in a strip mall out in the suburbs of Buffalo, and driving by there, you would never know it, you know. SB Skins in chat wants to know if there's any locations like this in Virginia, and I see you just answered in chat. Flippers.
Yes, just Flippers. Flippers in Grandy, North Carolina, just south of Virginia. It's worth the drive. If you've never been, make the trip. If you go there on a normal day, you're gonna have the place mostly to yourself. If you go there on a tournament day, it'll be very busy, and you get to meet a lot of great people that play pinball and be part of really well done tournaments. So,
yeah, and if you've on our channel, we have a video of where you went and played Big Bang Bar, one of the rarest games out there. They had one on location, and Mike streamed from there, and so that gives you some sort of indication of the level of games they have there. It's pretty amazing, and it's 50 cents a play, right?
Everything is basically 50 cents a play, unless it's older, or it's 5 plays for $2. So
can't go wrong with that.
It's as cheap as pinball generally gets, unless you're at Nickel-Rama in Texas.
Awesome. Well, let's get into the review segment here. The game, we were going to review Batman 66, but Mike's never played it. And since Nick's not here, we'll get to that the next time we do a podcast. But in its place, we decided to go with Revenge from Mars. Revenge from Mars is a game that you have owned. I currently have behind me. It's not mine, but it's a loaner, but I've had it for, it's got to be about a year now. So let's get into it. So why don't you kick it off? What is your impression of the art package on Revenge from Mars?
So for me, and you're going to bring up a picture of the game here. Oh, there we go. So one of the things to note real quick, and especially if you're going back in the Bally Williams days, right? One of the things that they really had going for them was the light box, or in the back box area, they had light boards with a lot of individual lights going on to give you that, animated light effect show behind the back glass or translight. Revenge from Mars kind of ditched on that one a little bit, but understandably based on what was going on, and it was just a tube. So that was one of like the earlier machines that just had a tube behind it and kind of lost out on that. Outside of that, though, I really like the art on it. It's simple, but it fits the theme really well. I had no issues making it a very visual side machine when I had it. I do like the translight. It looks very cool. The sides, it's obviously a different shape than your average machine. But I enjoyed that. I enjoy the nice, black and red outline. I felt it was sleek, and I could understand what they were doing there. And then when it comes to the play field, I felt it was nice, bright, and functional. Not only does it have some good color to it, but it's got your big Martian right there at the center. Everybody loves the hand-drawn art, but I don't really think they did a lot of copy-paste stuff back then from Photoshop. And it was just good colors. Now, unlike most machines, you only had about 2/3 of the playfield showing, so you had to make the most of it. But I felt it was pretty good, above average for me.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I kind of love the art package on this. It's got this awesome green Martian on the side, and he's just like destroying this city. And I don't know, this is everything I love about good pinball art. It's like there's a reason why everybody loves Attack from Mars. It's got this crazy like sci-fi theme, and green Martians, and they're doing crazy stuff, and it's really kind of humorous with this kind of fun theme. So the art really reflects that, and so in addition to everything you said, I really like the art. You can see some of the detail here in it. It's got the hand-drawn look and feel to it. It's I don't know what else to say. I love it. I think it's great. And for those who own the game still, this is the next game so if you've seen on Medieval Madness, and I think they did Attack from Mars as well, but Revenge from Mars is the next game they're doing an actual 3D translate for it, and it looks pretty cool.
Yes.
Yep.
That is cool.
So sound, what's your take on the sound?
Okay, so I, like many people, Nick included, so the McSirTuna in us, got revitalized by Pinball Arcade, or Williams, Pinball, or whichever one you jumped in on before Farsight, whichever Farsight version you want to say you got in on. And the one that really kind of grabbed me in was getting to play Medieval Madness. And I'm sure a lot of people could have that same story. And one of the things that was so great about Medieval Madness was that humor element that, Williams brought to that era of pinball. And they basically went back and they said, let's bring that right on back. They grabbed that same Attack from Mars, Medieval Madness humor level and brought it into Revenge from Mars. And from a sound point of view, if you're talking about, your bleeps and bloops, that's all fine and good and functional. But when you talk about all your call outs that they put into that machine, it's right up there for me with some of the top call outs as far as enjoying it, the humor. I never felt it got old on me because it was always well delivered to the point that, even if I've heard it 1,000 times, I was still chuckling when, faux Bill Clinton was chiming in.
Hillary, you gotta see this.
Exactly. It's when you're playing a game and there's a call out and you can't help but repeat it at the same time that it's being called out, that it's a winner in one regard or another. It didn't have any memorable music for me or anything like that, but from a sound effects point of view, it was definitely top tier.
Yeah. So I went and I played a game before we streamed, because this was one of the few times we're reviewing a game that I own. So I was like, I don't own it. It's in my house. So I was like, I'm going to fire it up and give this a run and kind of re-experience some of this. And one thing that really stood out to me is the way the back box is designed. So you've got these, where is it? There we go. The way the head is positioned on this, it actually puts the speakers right kind of front and center, right close to you. So they're right underneath this translate. So there's a translate on the back, and then right under that there's a black bar, and that's where the speakers are. And what is cool about that is it makes it much more dynamic, much more in your face. And I noticed that you could actually differentiate the stereo sound. So I've heard people talk about stereo sound on pinball machines doesn't really matter because you can't tell the difference. On this game, you actually can. And if you're playing it in a place where you can actually hear the sound effects, like when it was cycling through some of the options, you could hear it cycle from left to right. It's also, I don't know, they must have done some sort of upgrade to the amplifier or the whatever is driving the sound in here, because it's really cool. It's almost like I don't know, the latest Sterns, the spike system, have an upgraded sound system, and I feel like this is as good as that. It's really impressive as far as the level of quality on the sound. The other thing, as far as music, I totally agree with you on the sound effects. The sound effects are awesome. The humor and the call outs are great. The music, there's the one mode where you play as you fight against, you're robotic Abraham Lincoln and you're fighting aliens. Yeah. And it's like a Mortal Kombat kind of setup where Abe is on one side and the aliens are on the other side, and you're hitting stuff on the playfield and he's doing moves, and in the background the music it's got a very Mortal Kombat feel to it, and I just love that. It's so 90s, and it's those are the times when I was hitting the arcade heavy and playing a lot of Mortal Kombat, so that really resonates with me. I really love that mode in the game. All right, so let's get into toys. What's your take on the toys in Revenge from Mars?
So I'll start with the basic stuff and leave the elephant for last. Toys are minimal to non-existent in a traditional sense on the machine. You've got the Martians, which bounce up and down, but you only get 2 of them. And if you played Attack from Mars, it feels like you're missing more Martians than you should, just because you only get 2 and not 4. I also felt that, and maybe it was the Martians I had on mine, they weren't as floppy as the ones from Attack from Mars, and maybe that is a good thing for their build quality, but it didn't give you that, crazy, stupid, silly action that I was, that you get from Attack from Mars. Outside of that, you've got the saucers, but that doesn't really count. They're more just lights with fancy covers. But then you've got the, like I said, the elephant in the room, which is the point of Pinball 2000, the giant interactive screen reflected in front of you. And to me, it is what it is, and I thought it was a great example of what you could do with that technology. You sacrificed your traditional sense of the backside of the table for something that you can do a lot more than just one thing with. It kept it non-static. They did a great job of the animations, especially if you consider the time at when they did it and the technology available for that type of thing. The animations were fun. They were fluid for what they needed to be and what they were. It was a much different, fun, interactive toy, if you will. Now, not necessarily a toy in your traditional sense, but I kind of have to consider that. Otherwise, I'd be like, yeah, there aren't any toys on this machine. You had the jump ramp right in the middle there, and one cool thing about the jump ramp is those who play this machine and never owned one or seen one when you're not in a location or an arcade, you can't see that jump ramp traditionally. You wouldn't even know it was there. When I played this as a younger person, the ball flies back there and you don't really know what mechanics are going on, behind the video screen. And, you kind of take the glass out and then next thing you know, the magic's ruined. But it's a cool way of managing that back there. And I'd say it was well done and I enjoyed it. I mean, I felt it gave me an experience that I wasn't getting on any of my other machines. And I like the idea of it being interactive. And I like that people are taking that idea in small bits and slowly reintegrating it back into pinball right now with that of your holograms on your Ghostbusters or your dialed ins.
Yeah.
So
if you don't know, if you're not familiar with Pinball 2000, how it works is there's in the back box, it's got this giant weird looking back box, and in there's a computer monitor, and there's a computer like running a PC kind of thing, and it reflects down onto a piece of mirrored glass that goes on the playfield, and then that displays like a Pepper's Ghost kind of look over the whole back, probably third of the playfield, I would say. And on that, it any mode you go into, it changes what's on there. So it'll put aliens around on different parts of the playfield that you have to hit, and when you hit the target that's by that alien, it blows them up. Or there's giant chickens, and there's some when you get to through a couple of the levels, it'll give you the bonus wave where you can play alien bowling or Space Invaders kind of game and stuff like that. So I don't know. I love a lot of pinball people don't really like the video integration, but I think it's awesome. I'm a pinball / and video game person, and I just love the creativity they're able to do with this. They're able to make the mechanics on the playfield turn into so many different things, and I think that's why you're starting to see it reintegrated, like you said, on dialed in. And Ghostbusters, it's like you can take this static thing and make it a lot more dynamic. And you can also present a lot more information to the player. So instead of having to look up at the back box, you just got this big screen in the back, and it's showing you, okay, this is where I need to hit. This is what my score is. This is how I get the super jackpot. It's all right there, right in front of you. So I like the way it's able to present information to you on the playfield without having to look up at a back box or whatever. So that kind of gets us into the DMD and lighting a little bit. That's our next category, but it's also a toy. It kind of crosses over the lines on this game. So it's really kind of a shame that they weren't able to expand on Pinball 2000 beyond 2 games, because I feel like this was the game that they were like, all right, we have to show all the things it can do, and we have to make everything really obvious, right? So everything's kind of like that. Hit the center shot or hit the aliens, so people understand what's going on. And then they got into Star Wars, which was like, we're developing a game, but we don't really know what it's about because Lucas won't tell us what it's about. So it kind of came out to what it is, and not a lot of people like that game. And then, you had Wizard Blocks up next, which, from what I understand, and there's a hobbyist that's rebuilding this game from what it was supposed to be. It seems a lot more like, here's pinball, but here's pinball in a way that wouldn't be possible without this screen. So here's like some little things you have to do to that take advantage of the screen, but it's mostly real pinball. I can mostly see the ball while it's moving around back there, and that's a complaint a lot of people have about this game is once it goes past that reflection of where the screen is, you kind of lose track of the ball. Once you know what's going on back there, once you've played it a bunch, I feel like it's easier to follow. But I remember playing this in the arcades back then. I'm like, well, I can't see where the ball's going, right? It's like it goes back there and it just kind of disappears, and then it reappears eventually. So other than the screen, what do you think about the lighting on this game?
So when I got this, and I'll be a little bit sentimental on it, and biased. It was one of the earlier machines that I had, one of the earlier machines that I kind of tore it all apart to clean it and fix it, work on it, replaced all the lights. And I went with, a full LED, but it wasn't too bright or blown out for me. And what I ended up with was something I felt looked really good, and made the colors pop really good on it. And I really enjoyed the lighting on it as a whole. Like I mentioned earlier, with the art, it's very colorful. They kind of do it in sections if you wanted to bring back up the image of the playfield. And being as someone that really enjoys good light shows on machines, this one did a above average job in my opinion. You had the orange, the red, the green. They kind of stuck with that, and it worked well. The overall lighting from the general illumination was good enough to definitely keep things looking well. You had to have a certain amount of dimness to it to really make it work as far as the video screen in the back. But other than that, it did well. They had some modes where they dimmed out the rest of the machine, and you had the hypno mode, if you will, where they got rid of all the GI and you're just playing based on the light from the screen. It was it wanted to be strobe multi-ball, but it was definitely more playable than strobe multi-ball, but not as crazy weird. But it did utilize some cool lighting effects in that way, and I enjoyed that. So
yeah, the hypno mode was the one I was going to bring up. I feel like that's very unique, something you wouldn't be able to do without that big display in there. So they really put a lot of thought into how the modes are presented and different ways they could take advantage of this new platform. And I remember running into that mode the first time. I was like, whoa, this is really cool. It's like just this crazy like swirly pattern on the screen, and you're just like smashing the crap out of it. And so it's cool. Yeah, it's like strobe multi-ball, but kind of taken to the next level. So I like the lighting. I think it does a good job. It's not quite to where we're at today with RGB LEDs and all the crazy light shows you get on games like Total Annihilation, like we saw, or like Wizard of Oz has crazy light effects too. But they did a good job for. I think that game came out in '99.
Yep.
Gameplay. Why don't you kick it off for gameplay?
All right, so this kind of came down to I asked him earlier, like, okay, I'm new to this whole reviewing under the Buffalo system. What's the difference between gameplay and rules? And obviously, it kind of falls on top of each other a little bit. But at the time, I didn't really have any machines that were a good fan layout, if you will. So it was one of my first fan layout machines. And, part of me is a little spoiled back then or by the fact that, oh, yeah, I finally get to play a machine that's a little bit more fan layout. Gameplay, I'd say, is probably, if you're talking about, playfield layout and, shot design, I'd say it would be average, in my opinion. There's not a ton of shots, but what it does allows for a good amount of variety in how they accomplish those same things over and over again. One of the ones I found to be more frustrating was the right ramp that has the drop target right in front of it, and Kevin just totally ran off instead of bringing up a picture of the playfield. But I'm sure he's doing something really
dog
important.
was trying to burn down the house, so I had to go and turn the oven off.
Oh.
There's leftover pizza on the oven, and all I hear is that we have a gas oven, and it's going tick 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 tick. So he must have tried to get up there and get the leftover pizza and turn it on. So rather than have the house blow up, I went to turn that off. So you want to see the Revenge from Mars pics?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, also not having your house burn down or blow up midstream would be a good thing. So, like I mentioned, basic fan layout was one of the first ones. So you have your two orbits, you've got two ramps, but that right ramp has got the old drop target right in front of it, which can, since you can't see the drop target, it can be a little confusing. And other than that, you're basically hitting right up in the center. And if you shoot at the center, you're pretty much asking, well, am I going to lose or not? Because you're not going to see it hit those little batch of stand-up targets in the back since it's all dark. So you can get a lot of like cheap drains that way. It's kind of hard to see sometimes when the ball is feeding in the in lanes because of the red ramps and the saucers right there, but not like as bad as Star Trek Next Generation cannons. But as a whole, it doesn't do anything crazy. It plays it very safe. So I'd run it. I'd say it felt average for me, but not anything bad. I didn't really have too many negatives about it.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of like the poor man's Attack from Mars. It's got a very similar kind of layout and feel. It's got the saucer thing in the middle, and then it's got the two ramps and the orbits. It's got, instead of the lock shot being on the left, it's on the right now. So it's similar. Not exactly to Attack from Mars. Shoots, I don't know. Some of the time I feel like the ramp shots are a little tough. The right ramp seems to be a little easier than left, at least on the one that I play. But yeah, I think it's a smooth shooting game. It's fun, but it's not great. I would agree with you on that. Rules wise, so I'll let you take the back seat on rules. So rules, and correct me as we go here, but let me pull up the picture. So there's a set of inserts right in the middle of the play field, and those are your modes for the game. When you start off the game, it's going to present you with a screen that kind of lays out these modes in the back of the game. And you can choose from either the red or the orange modes to start with, and then you can eventually get to the green modes as well. So anytime you complete 3 modes is going to take you to a was it mothership? No, not mothership multi-ball. Which one is it?
Either fuel, saucer, or weapon multi-ball.
Yeah. Bonus wave is what I was looking for. They're called bonus wave multi-ball. And then you can work your way up to collect the fuel and the weapons to get to Mothership Multi-Ball, and then eventually you can get to Attack Mars, which is the wizard mode in the game, right? You can, we talked about it a little bit before, but if you hit the shot just to the right of the stand-up bank in the middle, that'll light your locks and then also start another multi-ball there. And you can there's a Martian multi-ball in there as well, kind of similar to Attack from Mars if you're familiar with that. Hit all the Martians and then you can get a Martian multi-ball going. In the scoop, it's got random awards that you can build up by rolling over the in lanes, very similar, again, to Attack from Mars. The modes, that's the one thing about this game. The modes, while it presents different situations to you, they all tend to feel the same to me. I don't know if you have that same reaction to them or not.
You want me to chime in now or wait till?
As my vector reboots itself back there.
So I would probably end up disagreeing with you on that. And part of it is because maybe it depends on how you play it. If you're playing with the idea of trying to get to the final wizard mode, your goal is to collect saucer lights. And you can play any of the modes, but then you have to accomplish a certain thing in order to collect a saucer light. Now, you can leave and get through the mode a lot sooner without collecting the saucer lights and have it be much easier. Where if you were doing that, you might end up feeling like the modes are playing very similar. But once you try to play with the idea of getting the saucer lights specifically, I feel like some of the modes definitely are show a little bit more of their variation. Now, obviously, it's, we've got these 6 shots, shoot them as such, but the way it's presented to me makes it feel different enough that it's, okay, I might still be hitting ramps or orbits, but it doesn't feel the same because visually it looks different and you're presented, you have to do it in a different order or a different method. So for me, the saucer lights added enough depth to give it the variety to keep it from being as stale.
Cool. So overall lastability, what's your thought on? Is this game a keeper in a collection, or is it one you play for a while and get rid of?
Well, I don't have it, but of the games that I've had and have sold, it's on the very short list of ones that I would be more than happy to, not against the idea of having back again someday. There plenty have gone and I'm not worried about that. I've had my time with it. It's A-okay. This one I wouldn't mind having back again. I would have no problem walking up to one and being happy to play it. I don't feel burnt out on it. I feel that as far as lastability goes, the amount of depth that it takes to get to the wizard mode isn't so tough that it doesn't feel unachievable, but it's tough enough that it feels satisfying and good to do, especially when the final wizard mode has a completion aspect to it. So it's sometimes not just about getting there, but also can you get there and win. So
yeah,
for
it's
me,
got one of the coolest wizard modes that I've seen, and it does a really good job of integrating the display, like the video elements. On the side of a Pinball 2000 machine, there are actually 4 buttons. There's the 2 main buttons, and there's like 2 sub buttons, and you end up using those in the wizard mode. I won't spoil it for those who get there. It's really cool when you get there, though. The thing about, I think, that spoiled this game for me and was that I got it here, we set it up, and then I just proceeded to just destroy the game on one of my first times around on it. And I was like, well, I guess I've done all the things, and I don't find myself playing it that much. But with that said, it's like there is a lot to be done in this game, and it goes. I don't know. I haven't been tracking the prices on these, but it tends to go between $25 and $3,000. There's a lot of game there for that price, and
it's got great value.
Yeah, the art is great. The callouts are great. There's a lot of modes and a lot of pinball to be played in here. So it's a good bang for the buck game if you're somebody who is not totally turned off by the video elements of it. So let's go over let me just pull up the website here. You want to say one more thing?
Yeah, because it doesn't fit into any of your categories, but I feel it's definitely worth noting. Um, they put a lot of time into, and this is more for operators, but when you're a home collector, they put a lot of time and effort into improving the operator's experience for the game. And if you've ever had to work on a Revenge from Mars, other than having any type of computer related issue, working on the machine was wonderful. Having full rails going down the entire playfield, making it super easy to, take the entire thing out if you wanted to, and having the screen, the full screen back then. I mean, Jersey Jack's got it now, but having the full screen back then for identifying switches that are out or lights that are out or just issues in general to troubleshoot, it was fantastic. Having boards in the bottom of the cabinet with all kinds of lights on it to tell you where your problems are was great. It's if you end up owning one of these and you have trouble on it and you have to do any work to it, it tends to be, I enjoyed working on that more than other ones, and I did appreciate the work that they put into improving the operator experience for the game itself. So I want to give it extra kudos for that, because that usually will go unmentioned with the whole fact that you're playing it, not working on it most of the time. Plus, I just noticed that your space shuttle kind of makes it look like you're wearing a tinfoil hat. But
does it?
a little bit to me.
So they the two other things to that point. So it's taken pinball manufacturers like 15 years to get back to doing what they were doing in the system. So with Jersey Jack and now the more modern Stern systems, and you're seeing things like what Highway's doing with their games, they're finally catching up to what was laid out in this Pinball 2000 platform, which is really kind of crazy. And the other thing, just to note on these, even though there were only 2 of these made in the Pinball 2000 series, you can't swap playfields between the 2 games. So if you were to pick up a Star Wars Episode 1 game, you can take the playfield from that, put it in the other cabinet, and off you go. There's a little software you got to change too, but that was the idea, was that it would be like video games where you were able to kind of take a PCB from an old game out and put a new game in, and you're off and running in the same cabinet. So a lot of things that they were just very forward thinking with this platform, and it's a shame it didn't get to last longer than it did. Name us the Pinball 2000 game that didn't get completed was Wizard Blocks. And there's that was a question we got in the chat, and that's one that's a fan is recreating it, so it's pretty exciting to see. You may see it out at a pinball show if you end up making your way out there. So let's get to the rating these games. So on our scale, I don't know why this keeps bringing this up, but let's go to our podcast page, and if you go to buffalopinball.com/podcast, you can see reviews for all our old games. Of course, I didn't put up last month's game yet, but it'll be there soon. So our score key is from 0 to 2. You should burn it. From 3 to 5 is an expensive nightlight. 6 to 8 is a solid game, and 9 to 10 is a buy it. So on that scale of 1 to 10, Mike, what would you rate Revenge from Mars?
I mean, for me, am I allowed to go 0.25?
We haven't done 0.25s, but I suppose we can let you get away with it.
All right, I'd go 8.25. I feel, for me, it's a very solid game. And if the video aspect doesn't bother you, it's really, there's no reason it shouldn't make its way up to that level for you. I had a great time with it. It was a pleasure to get to own it. Everybody who ever had over enjoyed it as well. And obviously it's my review, not theirs, but when you have a machine and you can watch other people who don't play pinball walk up to it and have a good time, that makes me have a good time too. So it was a great machine to have. Definitely solid. If you ever have an opportunity to get one, it's totally not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'd rate mine a little lower. I'd go about a 7 on Revenge from Mars. Good fun, solid game. It doesn't quite have the lastability that I'd like. I don't find myself coming out here to play it that much. But when I do play it, I have a good time. And there's a lot to like about it as far as the the music and sounds and art package and everything like that. So 7 for me and 8.25 for Mike. So that is your review of Revenge from Mars. And with that, let's get into our viewer listener feedback. So throughout the month, if you want to have questions answered on the show, you can email talkpinball@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter. Our Twitter is @BuffaloPinball. So one email that I got over the interim, and I just need to turn off Vector because it's being obnoxious.
I can't really hear it from here, but I bet it's louder for him.
It's driving me nuts. So I got on May 12th. I got an email from. He doesn't give his real name, but his email name is Theron Troxel, and he says, "I can't remember what episode I heard this on, but can you explain to me how you use pool noodles to help move pinball machines? It sounded like a great idea when I heard it, but I can't envision it now." And so this is for some reason I mentioned this on a podcast one time, and it's kind of becoming my thing is pool noodles. So pool noodles are the things you get when you play in the pool for kids or whatever, and they make really handy accessories for moving pinball machines. And he couldn't remember how they work. So normally these are like twice as long as this, and I get one and I cut it in half. And you take one half when you're rolling it into like an SUV or something. You set this on the back of the hatch, and you put the pinball machine down on top of it and start rolling it in. And eventually you're going to get far enough in that you need a second one. You just lift up the back of the pinball machine, slide the second one in, and it rolls in the rest of the way. I've seen folks use like PVC pipe and things like that, and that works well. What's nice about these is when you put the pinball machine in, it's going to compress down and keep it from rolling around quite so much when it's in the vehicle. So that I wrote him back and said that's how you do it, and he says he wanted to know how many and how they were helped to roll the game. He says, and then so the next day I get an email and it says, "Dear pool noodle expert, holy hell, why was that pro tip been hiding so long? I used them tonight to move a game and was such a breeze with the pool noodles. Great idea, and thanks for sharing on your show. Wish I would have known about it years ago." From the pool noodle novice. So there you go. We're changing lives here with the pool noodles. I never thought I'd be the pinball pool noodle expert, but life takes you to weird places.
I wish I'd heard about that before I got Avatar, because that would have worked out great.
You should have listened to the podcast.
Well,
I think I mentioned that on one of the very first ones or something. I don't know. It's been a while. So there's your pool noodle update. I'll have to bring that out like once a year just to bring new people on board. So that's pool noodles. So why don't we take turns on the viewer feedback, and you can take the one from Triton.
Oh, great. What do I think about the Triton? Okay, this is from Triton 1000, one of our one great viewer we've got. Very loyal viewer. What do we think about the redesign of the ball lock building on Dialed In? I'm glad that you gave me that one.
Yeah. Well, you can just read it and then we can talk about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
So Jersey Jack announced that Dialed In is on the production line. I believe this is number one off of the production line. And one of the things I noticed when they posted this picture was that and every time I do that, so there's a train station lock mech that when you lock the ball up the side ramp, it goes up there and it locks in. I think it's up the side ramp. I don't know. I need to play this game more. But when you lock it up the ramp, it goes into the station and there's an animation on the screen that shows the ball going into the station. It's kind of like on Wizard of Oz when you lock it in the
Emerald City.
The Emerald City, yeah. And then they come flying out of there when you get all three locked. But I really like the update. It's got more of a finished look to it. It corresponds more with the graphics that they put on the screen. So I like the upgrade. I think it's a plus. You were saying you kind of like the original one better, right?
Well, I mean, this is coming from a person that didn't know there was an upgrade and also has never seen this machine. So doing a Google Images search, to me, the other one, I'm like, if I were just looking at this image versus a Google image search, I was like, this other one looked pretty good. I don't really see why they, had a need to change it. But, Kevin was mentioning, oh yeah, but some of those things on the top are actually kind of exposed mechanisms. And probably in person, it didn't look as good as it did in the small Google image that I had found. So I kind of have to defer my opinion more to him, since he actually has had his eyes on this thing, and hands, at that matter. As I'm just just Google image, guessing here.
Cool.
But I mean, it looks good. I would really need to see it in person to make the most of my opinion on it. But I don't think you can lose either way.
Yeah, it's from my impression from this photo. Again, I haven't seen the real thing in person of the new model, but it looks a lot better. It was like the one thing that really stood out to me when they posted this picture. The other thing, while we're on the subject, is the hologram there. It was known as the Einstein's Theater or something like that. And there's not a sign on the top of it now. It's just kind of like his black box. I'm wondering if they left that out on purpose, or if it's eventually going to have some sort of like marquee around it, like it does on the prototype. If not, I could see that being a mod opportunity.
Definitely. I was going to say that, but you beat me to it.
Aha! I have the answer. All right. So up next from @thegeekyhusband on Twitter, he says, "What makes a good pinball location? How many pins do they need? And must it have food, drink to become a place you will frequent?" For me, I don't think a place has to have food or drink for me to frequent it, but I think it's a must for their business model. It's a plus if you're there, especially if we're running a day-long tournament at your place and you've got food and drinks. People are a lot happier being there playing in an 8-hour tournament or whatever if you've got food and drinks for people. That makes it, if you're running a long tournament, people have to find ways to run out, and hopefully there's a restaurant nearby or bring food along or things like that. So that's my thought on the food and drink thing. On the number of pins, I don't know. I would go to a place that had one pinball machine if it was a pin that I wanted to play. I think like 4 or 5 probably is a good number, just to keep it from getting stale. Because like, say when Pocketeer got Star Trek, this was like way back. They originally had just so Pocketeer's a location near us, and they're up to 50 pinball machines now. But at the time, they got a brand new Stern Star Trek. They had one other game, and it was a Sopranos. And the Sopranos was there, but it barely worked. It was all dirty, and like the safe didn't really register. So we said to the owner, we were like, well, if you fix that up, that'll give us something to play while we're waiting to take turns on Star Trek. So I feel like you need to at least have 2 machines if you're going to get a couple people there playing multiplayer games. It gives people something to bounce back and forth on without just standing around, and it's also going to increase their revenue, right? Because people are putting money in more machines. So I'd say you got 3, probably 4 or 5 is like the optimal. But obviously, the more you get, the more fun there is to be had. But there's also has to be a point of marginal rate of return, right? So you're going to have if it is having 50 games versus 49, is that going to bring in that much more revenue? Probably not. But there's probably a breaking point along the way. And obviously, I haven't run a business plan on an arcade, but I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on that. What do you think?
I think you kind of touched on one of the key points, but you didn't really say it out loud. And that's, for what makes a good pinball location, working pinball machines. A place that'll take care of the machines, a place that's, and usually a lot of times it might not be the place, but another person that's taking on the machines in somebody else's location. That's a very common thing. And anybody who's into pinball, I'm sure you've looked at a map at some point or found a place, and as long as it had one machine, there was no reason that you were not going to go check it out. So how many does it really need to have? Just one good working machine, and that's enough to make me go there just to play that one machine. Now, what would make for a better pinball location? And I'd probably agree with you. And it depends if you're talking about for the player or for a business model. From the player's perspective, the more the merrier. But 4 to 5 is, 4 plus, I'd say is a good number. And it depends how many people they have there. Is it a place that's has pinball as just an extra thing for you to do while you wait for another activity, like a movie theater? Or is it a place where you're going there that is a pinball place meant to be a pinball place? If it's meant to be an arcade, you're going to need quite a bit more, because otherwise you're banking on having a lot less people showing up at your place. But, it all brings maintenance and stuff with it. So, from a business sense, that's its own discussion. Now, does it have to have food or drink? Well, it depends how long you want people to stay there. In my earlier trips to flippers, well before I had pinball machines, I would go there and I'd be there for, 8 to 10 hours, no problem. And they've got food and drink available, and that would make it go so much better, because I would just it makes you feel like you're just going to want to stay there longer and play. And especially if you're a place that really cares about good pinball, you're going to want to have tournaments, or you're going to want people to come there and have tournaments. And you know what? It's going to make them want to have a tournament there, food or drink. And if you don't have food or drink, people are probably going to find a way to make that happen regardless. So you're either going to provide it, and once again, but that's all business stuff. To me, any good pinball location is just a place that's got a pinball machine that works. And you know what? Even if it doesn't work, I'll still play it anyway. So
very true. All right, and so we actually had a Twitter reply from Evad Sman. That's Dave Sour Cream for you guys who have seen him on the stream. So he says no music. He wants to hear his pins. Audio is almost as important as lighting. And I have to disagree with that. So Pocketeer's got a jukebox, and one of the best things about going there is like trolling the jukebox and playing really weird music. So we've taken to playing like Gordon Lightfoot and 80s classics, things like that. So it's typically like there's like Kid Rock and like rap music going on. So just like throw on some Careless Whisper or something while you're playing pinball. There's something to really be said about that. And I think it comes across in our streams too, because people like to see us play with crazy music going on too. Are you a music purist? Do you want to hear the pinball machines, or are you okay with background music?
Personally, I think, and as much as I really do enjoy hearing the sounds and music of pinball machines, it's really a part of the experience of playing pinball. Being on location, it's a known sacrifice. If you turn up the machine you're playing on, then the guy next to you isn't going to be able to hear the machine he's playing on as well. So you're going to hear it to a point, but it's never going to be as good as what it is in a controlled home environment. So you're going to more or less have to say, I would have to say, music and sounds can be great, but if you're playing on location, it's going to be the location's feel to it. You're going to lose the atmosphere of being in a place where other things are going on and you're just playing out in public. So to me, it's the public noise that you should hear if you're playing on a location.
Yeah, it's the sounds of being in an arcade, which I like that experience too. It's like a whole different experience. When you're at home, you can really kind of immerse yourself in the game that you're playing, but when you're in an arcade, it's like that whole like sensory overload experience. So two different things, but you're playing on a location, it's going to be noisy no matter what. Okay, why don't you take the next one?
This one's coming from TurboGrafx 7. Do you think the hologram used and dialed in Ghostbusters will start to be used more often in new machines? We kind of touched on this, tying into RFM in the video backdrop. I would not be surprised if it's something we see going forward in new machines, but I expect it to be something you'll only see in more expensive versions of machines. Unless they figure out a way to keep costs down, it's certainly not a feature that would be required in a machine and would be a good way to cut cost. But if cost is not necessarily an issue, like we said before, it's a fantastic way to take a set amount of space and give it pretty much endless variety. So it doesn't have to be something static, but can be dynamic. So, exactly the same way that Dialed In uses it for different things, the same way that Revenge from Mars uses it for the entire back side of the machine. And Ghostbusters probably didn't utilize it to the extent of tying into gameplay, other than just giving you different visual, kind of visual coolness.
Yeah.
I don't know the best way to term that would be.
Yeah, it's like a bells and whistles kind of thing. What I like, so on the most recent version of Dialed In, I was playing the other day at the Buffalo Pinball League Finals. There's a lot more animation going on in that the little theater, but there's also times when they totally light it up and it looks clear. So it's great that I love that they did that. It's like, oh, that's awesome. Now I can see everything back there. So it's got kind of the best of both worlds with Revenge from Mars, where it can have all this cool stuff going on there, or it can totally disappear and you can see right through it. So I really like the way they implemented. I don't think we're ever going to see it to the level of Revenge from Mars again, especially with everybody having LCD screens in the back glasses now. That's handling a lot of what was being done in Revenge from Mars, but I like it being used in certain key locations on the playfield like that. All right, next question from Zion _010101 on Twitter. He says, what are your feelings on Total Nuclear Annihilation? Will it be a hit or a flop? We talked about TNA a little bit earlier. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like a runaway, like gangbusters kind of like Metallica or AC/DC kind of game, but I think it's going to find an audience. The model they've announced for this is they're going to, once there's 50 games run, 50 games ordered, they're going to run them. And then they're going to keep running them in batches of 50 until there's no more demand. So, like past spooky games, they've said, okay, we're making 250 or 300 of these, and that's it. This game they're going to make until there's no more demand, basically. So, I think it'll probably, if I had to guess, I'd say they probably sell about 500 of these. A lot of it depends on the price that it comes out at. If it's a $4,000 machine, which I don't think it is, I think they're going to sell a ton of them. If it's a $6,000 or $7,000 machine, that's going to limit the number of sales. But I think it's going to do well. I don't think it's going to be a runaway success.
So, what would you define as a hit or a flop? Sales, or just people's impressions once they have it?
Yeah, I'm taking the question based on number of units sold. From like a gameplay perspective, I think it's already a hit. Everybody that plays it loves it. The fact that you had people coming away from Texas Pinball Festival saying it was their favorite game of the show, that speaks more than anything else. I haven't played it yet, but I think from a gameplay perspective, it's going to be a hit.
So, I mean, I've got zero experience with the game other than seeing a video and like you reading other people's impressions. I would say it's going to be a hit. And I noted this earlier. In my opinion, it's kind of the first custom, project of somebody's that got put into production, and that they built the machine themselves, and now it's becoming a real production machine. I could be wrong. I might have forgotten somebody, but I would say that's the first time I've seen that actually happen all the way to a production run.
Yeah, the only other one I can think of is maybe America's Most Haunted, because that was Ben Heck's machine, and then Spooky's like, well, let's make this to kick off Spooky Pinball. They already had kind of a working relationship, but that was as close as I can think.
That sounds about right. And I mean, for me, with already having high praise, with the fact that Spooky is doing it in a smart way that's controlling their production quantities, that there's no way it won't be a hit. So those people who want it, and I love the idea that they're saying, okay, we'll make as many as we need to. That way it's not, hey, they're making 300, let's all, 280 of them are going to be kept in a box somewhere for the next 10 years for nobody to be able to see, and then I'll sell it for 30,000 later on. It's hey, if you want to buy it, go ahead and buy it. If you don't, then you don't need to buy it. Which I'm much more in favor of that type of model, that it's not just bought for those who want to make profit rather than people who want to play it. And it hopefully will do well. I mean, anything that's going to come out with that type of praise is definitely going to probably get some good pre-orders. So I don't foresee it being a flop at all. I would expect them to have no problem getting through at least the first 50 and more sets of 50 after that. Some people have to wait longer than others, but you'd be able to get it.
Awesome. So next question is yours.
All right. This is from JSJ111 or JSJ3. What are some machines to learn pinball techniques on? How do you get better at a variety of machines if you can't practice on each one? Very good question. I've got my own personal opinion on this, and Kevin loves this. Personally, I feel that my favorite machine to tell someone to learn pinball techniques on is going to be Game of Thrones. It doesn't have to be a particular version of Game of Thrones. Any Game of Thrones will do. A lot of machines also with fan layouts would be good as well, but Game of Thrones, I feel, does a really good job. And what I feel it does to make it such a good machine for learning pinball technique is the way that it feeds the ball back to the player. On controlled shots that aren't a ramp, and even on ramp shots, the ball's fed back to the flipper on that side. So if it's coming down an orbit, it's generally coming down an orbit very often and in a more or less repeatable way, making it very easy for someone to practice the idea of getting the ball under control. A lot of issues that new players can have is not just getting a ball under control, but not even realizing the idea of getting a ball under control. And if you try to tell somebody, hey, try to trap up or bring the ball to a stop, they may try once or twice, but it's until that type of situation kind of keeps happening. And since Game of Thrones feeds the ball back to you in such a repeated way, it's not going to be long before the ball comes back to you in that same way, and you can keep practicing that same type of maneuver until you get better and better at it. It was one of the machines that I was able to have my girlfriend get much better at controlling the ball on, because it'll keep feeding it. You launch it, it goes to the top right, pops, it comes back down to your flipper, and you can try to either live catch it or kind of just get it under control right there. And you get better at it because just out of repetition. Few games will feed you that amount of, it doesn't sound good when I say this, but it'll feed you that type of repetition over and over to allow you to get better at that particular type of thing. And the best part is, to your second part of the question, is how do you get better at a variety of machines? The core techniques of just getting control of a pinball is something that translates to all machines. Getting good at that will allow you to get better at any machine, just because when you're under control, you'll be able to better learn and make better shots. So to me, that's the best one. I mean, other fan layouts can do the same, but the amount of repetition and commonality that the ball feeds from the orbits to the flippers just makes it so much easier for someone to learn how to control it.
Yeah. I think I see your point there. I'm not, if everybody knows I'm not the biggest Game of Thrones fan, but beyond that, I think just having a game in your house makes it a lot easier to practice things, where on location you're probably like, oh, I just want to play for as long as I can no matter what. When you're not throwing quarters in it all the time, you can be like, all right, I'm just going to practice drop catches, or I'm going to practice bounce passes, or I'm going to try live catches, or things like that, where on a location, you'd be like, well, I'd just be throwing my money in the garbage if I was doing that, and I'm not good at it. Or you could even take the glass off and say, drop the ball from a certain way and try to catch it, or, set up shots for you to kind of make. One other thing I would recommend is, and this is, you've said this, Nick has said it, I say it all the time. If you want to learn rules for different games, Pinball Arcade is a great way to do it. It's not the best for flipper technique because it's not the same feel as a real pinball machine, but it does a great job of walking you through the things you need to do in real pinball machines. Obviously, not every game is in there, but most of the greatest hits are in there. So when you step up to locate a game on location or in a tournament, you'll have more of an understanding of what's going on and what you need to do to score points. All right. Let's see. From PB Undesirables. He says this is meta, but what do you see as... So this is a little less pinball and more Twitch, but there's pinball in there. He says, what do you see as the unwritten rules of Twitch, pinball, and pinball on Twitch? Some of us are new and honestly don't know. On the pinball side, the unwritten rules of pinball. Okay, here's one. When you're at a show and you're playing by yourself, before you start your next game, when your game finishes, look behind you and see if there's anybody waiting to play. If there's nobody waiting to play, you can play another game. If there is somebody waiting to play, either get out of line and let them play or ask if they want to play a 2-player game. Don't just sit there and hog the game and be a jerk. Also, don't play a 4-player game by yourself, because that's you're just hogging that game, preventing everybody else from getting on there. Also, take a shower. That's also some advice you should have. As far as Twitch, unwritten rules of Twitch. I was thinking about this today, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm authoritative enough to give unwritten rules of Twitch, but one of the things is he kind of asked me, we were talking behind the scenes a little bit, and he was asking about like promoting yourselves in other channels, and it's frowned upon, but I feel like if you're part of a community, so like the pinball community on Twitch is small, and if it's a channel you're in a lot, inevitably you're going to talk about like what you've been playing, and so like say if Rudy's in my chat or whatever, and we're talking about whatever, I'll ask him like, what have you been streaming? When were you streaming? That sort of stuff. That's all normal. But if you're brand new and you jump into a channel and you just start promoting the heck out of your stream, people are going to take that as a negative. They're not going to really be cool with that. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know if you had any thoughts there, Mike.
Let's see. Twitch and then pinball on Twitch. Well, as far as pinball, I mean, I'm in complete agreement with what you said in terms of, if you're playing at a show or just in any public forum whatsoever, if there's anybody at all waiting around you or nearby that certainly looks like they want to get on that machine that you're playing, step off of it when you're done. Step away from it, see if they walk up to it. I've played at machines, and if I'm waiting to play a machine that I want to get on, maybe I'll play a machine that's nearby, so I'm waiting for the person to leave. But if you're not standing behind them, maybe they, don't realize, I'm just going to keep playing. Be the person that's kind of be like, hey, you waiting to get on this next? It's okay. You can ask. Nothing wrong with that.
All right. So we were talking about the unwritten rules of Twitch and pinball. So why don't you pick up right where you left off so I can splice this together flawlessly?
That'll be flawless.
Yeah.
Or I will just restart what I was saying-ish. Okay. Where was I? One of the unwritten rules of pinball to me is if you're playing a machine that doesn't belong to you, that you should try to respect it. Early on, I was at a pinball tournament, and although definitely at that time I didn't really do a lot of nudging or things like that to the machine where that's to be expected, but it's tough at that stage to determine is what's acceptable to do and what's not. And definitely there were some people that were, I would still say, even with what I know today, doing things that I would probably not want them doing to my own machines. Whether it's, it's one thing, a lot of people will slap the sides of machines to help, move the ball away from a rail. I understand that. But, when you're slugging machines or kicking them, those tend to be things you want to try to not do. And it's one thing if you're at a show and you've got a bit of, you're a little bit anonymous within the crowd around you, and the machine doesn't belong to you, but you know what? It belongs to somebody. And chances are they probably don't want their machine to get kicked. So it's probably best to just treat the machines as if like you would own them, in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah, don't donkey kick the machines. Don't pick them up and slam them down. Even if you lose, like Jay Fairbrother does by 10 points on Monster Bash, just don't kick the machine.
You know, you can do it on your own machine all day.
Yeah. Like I move my Ghostbusters around like it's nobody's business, but I wouldn't do that to somebody else's.
Yeah.
All right. So go for it.
Well, I was going to say unwritten rules of Twitch.
Oh yeah.
Twitch pinball streaming. That's a little tougher. You were touching on, you know, self-promotion aspects. Usually I don't self-promote, but if anything, I'll go into a room and of people you know, and as long as you know them, there's a good chance they'll probably promote you themselves without you having to do it for yourself, if they know you. And don't be afraid to go into other people's rooms that stream similar stuff to you, similar pinball stuff, and strike up conversations with them. There's a good chance you'll start to get to know. It's not a huge community, but you know there's a good number of people out there. So if you go in and you start talking to people, then the next thing you know, when you go into each other's rooms, you'll help cross promote each other. It's a good way to do it and be friendly with people. So that's pretty much what. That's pretty much the only thing I could probably think of for that. You laughing at the donkey kicks?
Yeah, donkey kicking the mic. Things are getting crazy. All right, one more, and this one's for me, so it's appropriate that I'm asking it. It says Wildcat on our Discord channel says, was the real reason I skipped the Cyclorama because I didn't want to see Jeff in bike shorts, and the answer is yes. That is the answer. So thank you, Wildcat. All right, that's going to wrap up this episode of Brody Even Talk Pinball. Be sure to follow and sub our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Buffalo Pinball. You can use your Amazon Prime account. If you have Amazon Prime, with that, you get one free subscription to a Twitch channel. We'd love it if you chose it, Buffalo Pinball, to use that on. We get the same amount from that as we do from a regular sub, so appreciate that. We do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Buffalo Pinball, especially if you're not a Twitch person and you like the podcast or you check us out on YouTube. Consider being a patron of ours. Give us a follow on social media. We are at Buffalo Pinball on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We have a group. It's facebook.com/groups/Buffalo Pinball. And that's about it. I want to thank Mike, McSirTuna Lukianoff, for joining me tonight, stepping in for the ailing but still alive Nick Lane. So thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Sorry, I was reading the chat.
That's when you respond.
Yeah.
And not only is he a great guest, but he also kind of looks like Nick. So I was hoping you guys wouldn't notice tonight. But thanks for tuning in. Apologies for these minor internet difficulties, but if you're on the other end of this on YouTube or the podcast, it's like magic. You don't even know there was a problem. So, and thanks to T-Bonus and Martha for calling in and giving us the Silverball Cycl-o-Rama update. So we will see you again. Don't forget to tune in Thursday for Dialed In. It's gonna be wrapping up the current season of Brody Even Pinball with an awesome new game, Dialed In, from Jersey Jack Pinball. So we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.